good evening and welcome to Sim Racing Online. We're here for round 3 at Zandvoort for the Group 5 60s to 70s Championship. These DRM cars, these powerful cars that we're going to be running with today. So Zandvoort is the track, and we're going to be using the 1967 version, so classic track, classic cars. What's not to like? What's not to like? So we've done 2 rounds so far of this championship. We did have some technical problems a couple of weeks ago, which means we've had to have a little bit of a switch around. So we've had to move Zolder, which was our 3rd round. We've moved that to the 5th round. So our 3rd round now becomes Zandvoort 1967. Then on the 14th of March, which is 3 weeks from now, we will be at the Nürburgring GP circuit. The Nürburgring GP circuit, I believe, is the early 2000s layout. So that should be very, very interesting. It is the GP layout. We're not going to the Nordschleife, that would be a little bit too much. And then for the last round on the 28th of March, so 2 weeks from then, we'll be heading back to Zolder, the 1979 version. So the version that has no chicanes, which should make it very interesting to race on. So this championship is for 5 cars, 5 DRM cars. So let's see what we actually have to choose from. We've got the BMW E21, the BMW M1 Pro car. We've also got the Ford Capri Zac Speed, the Lancia M2 and the Porsche 935. Now the good thing about this championship is that the drivers have 5 tracks and they also have a choice of 5 cars. They have to pick a different car every single race, which has made it very, very interesting for us as viewers, because it spices things up a little and it gives the drivers a little bit of strategy. What car do you want to take on a specific track? So the first round at Norris Ring, there was a few people that took maybe the wrong car, the BMW M1, very fast in a straight line, a lot of horsepower, but maybe not good to get around hairpin corners. So we're going to see if car choice is going to be vital for the rest of this championship. So the other thing that they've got to be watching out for is there's a mandatory pit stop anytime in the 45 minutes. They've got to do a mandatory pit stop. Now it doesn't matter, they don't have a pit window or anything, they just have to figure out when they need to take tyres. I don't think they will need to be fueling up at all. So just fuel it up and hope for the best. So it's a very tight circuit, Zandvoort. It's been around since 1948, but we're only using the 67 layout, which is twisty turny, uppy downy through the dunes of the Netherlands and the coast. So, championship so far. If we look at our season standings, it is very, very close in the championship with only 2 rounds gone. Nick Westy currently leads the championship. He's been the most consistent so far with 2 second places. Then we have Maxime Perotti in 2nd and Tony Talviti in 3rd. There has been 2 winners from 2 rounds, 2 separate winners from 2 rounds, which, if I look at my table, has been Tony Talviti and Maxime Perotti. So Tony Talviti took round 1 and Maxime Perotti took round 2 at Hockenheim. So will we have a similar winner today, or will we have a different winner? I'm expecting lots of side-by-side racing here today. Right, let's go back to our main screen. Let's check out what's going on track at the moment. People are having a little bit of a practice. We will have a 15-minute qualification session coming up shortly. But let's see what everyone has chosen for their cars this evening. So a stacked field, a very stacked field that we've got today. We're also having to make sure that I turn on the initials for the tower there, because we do have some brothers, or at least some relations, which have got the same name in the car list, so we're going to have to watch out for those. Brown currently hitting one of those curves. Got to watch out for those curves at Zandvoort, at least this layout. It can be absolutely lethal. But for most of these corners, it's just a case of you have to be right on the racing line, duck into the apex and just hold on. Maybe have a little bit of a rear end slide. But the corners do go back on themselves, so it's left, right. So as I say, there might be some chances to go side by side. And that big long straight at the tail end of the lap. There's no banking here like there is on the modern circuit. This is the 60s version. And then it's hard braking down into turn 1. So all the corners, you can carry a lot of speed through them. And they are banked, which does help a lot. But we see some side-by-side racing. It will get a little tight down towards this hairpin here. So Phil Brown, currently second on the timesheets at the moment, has taken the BMW E21 in the JPS livery. And I can see that Tom Down VT is currently at the top of the timesheets now, a 1:15.8. I've seen just before I joined that there was a couple of engines that were smoking out there. We do see Hockenheim, a couple of drivers had decided to close their radiators. It does make you a bit faster, but it does make you a little bit of a hazard with the smoke coming out of your engine at the back. So I am relying on the cameras that are getting chosen for me by the game today. So we may see some, hopefully it's able to catch some of the action that I probably would have missed. So here's Tony Taviti, currently third in the championships. Got a lovely blue paint job here, and he's just avoiding another Porsche that's spun in the middle of the circuit. So he is in the Porsche 935. Takes it a little bit too wide and heads into the fence. That's not the best way around the final corner. So a lovely number of liveries, custom liveries, just to keep me on my toes. I can't kind of rely on knowing who's in what car because they're mixing around every race. So Gaten Noyes has decided to take the BMW E21. Very loose on exit there. Now I believe Gaten Noyes was up, doing very well at Hockenheim. He even got to the lead at a certain point, but I think it all went wrong during the pit stop phase. He had penalties and had to come in multiple times. We did have a little bit of a sprinkling of rain as well at Hockenheim, which did mix things up a bit on this misremembering something. But so a nice orange, very Dutch-looking livery that Gaten Noyes has chosen. So Gaten Noyes, if I look down my list, Noyes, he only got 14 points from the last. No, he got 14th place from the last race, so leading early on, but unfortunately a few problems. So there's Julian Powell currently in the pits. Who else is out on track and run? So Nick Westy, our championship leader, is currently in the Ford Capri. 2 second places so far. And if I look down my list as well, let's have a look. Delete that one because that's a duplicate. Don't want that one in there. So Nick Westy has so far taken both BMWs for his first 2 rounds, BMW E21 and the BMW M1. He's Chow decided to take the Ford Capri today, and it looks like he has closed that radiator as well. Who else we've got on track? Philip Pichler in the Porsche 935. I believe he was the driver that was smoking all the way to the finish. Let's see what cars he has chosen. So Philip Pichler has only done 1 round so far out of the 2. He was up there at Hockenheim, and his first choice was the BMW M1. But for the 3rd round, it's going to be the Porsche 935. Very fetching red livery. Now, one thing to be wary of, the pit entry to this circuit, there is no pit wall. Drivers are going to have to be very careful that they don't miss the pit entry line, because if they miss it and the game misses that they've crossed the pit line, then they will not get a pit stop. But you're going to come full speed into the pit lane and try and slow down for your pit spot there. So Simon Barnes just having a little bit of an excursion on his Ford Capri. He's going to park right by the cameraman. James De Silva, another driver that's taken the Porsche 935. The Porsche 935 seems a very popular car choice today. Now, I've noted for the first 2 rounds, no one has decided to take the Lancia M2. It seems to not really be a popular choice at the early part of the season. Hits the barrier kind of square on there. That wouldn't have caused any damage. So you've got a track temperature of around 31 degrees. Air temperature of around 27. So it's quite hot out there, so I can imagine we're going to be smoking a few tyres as the race progresses. A lot of rubber has been put down so far. Let's see Joe Reebok on the Ford Capri. It's a lovely sounding car. Now, as I say, with this Zandvoort layout, you've really got to be careful. It is old style with the curves being so high. I don't want to touch them at all. And there are a couple of curbs around some of these back turns, particularly the blind crest at the middle of the circuit. And I'm going to get my track map up so I can see what I'm doing. There we go, there's my track map. You can see what's what. So some interesting names for these corners. I can't really say that I'm going to pronounce them very well. Let's see if we can get our map turned this way so I can see it right there. So it looks like people are struggling with keeping the cars in these back turns. Maybe pushing a little bit too far. But as I say, track temperature maybe being a little bit too hot. And it looks like we are rolling over to qualifying. So let's see who's the first out. It does look like that is Tony Talviti that has decided to get first out in bits. It is quite a short lap here as well, so we'll get quite a few laps in. Now, with the rules as they are with Sim Racing Online, drivers got to make sure that they do an out lap, a fast lap, and then an in lap. If they crash out and they can't get back to the pits, then that is their qualification over with. Looks like there's a little bit of a race out of pit lane that Rossi wants to get on with it. And do the drivers really want to be this close? Going through the first few corners. In fact, being that close for qualifying in general. So up the hill, this is the Flying Crest I was talking about, so they're going to go left and then up the hill over this, what is this Blind Crest. Do not hit that curve on the inside, you will launch into the sky. Basically this circuit is four-wheel drifts all the way around. Section flat out through these right and left, and then right again, coming down the hill towards the main straight. Get on the power as early as possible, bury the throttle. Looks like Nick Westy has possibly gone off. Is that Nick Westy straight into the fence? He may have to carry on with that damage. So we're going to go on board with Tony Talviti on his fast lap out of the pits. For the first turn. Smoking the tyres on the exit, no particular ways. And down into one of the slowest sections of the track. Coming up towards the hairpin. All corners on this track are banked. Okay. I assume that helps our drivers. He bangs it off the limiter coming up the hill. Brian Crest leaving black lines as well, and he's got to try and get the speed off to come down the hill again. A lot of these corners are very confidence based. You've got to hope that you don't hit one of these curves on the inside and hopefully not running wide. If you run wide, you're going up into the undergrowth. So come through the final 2 turns. Put this right-hander down onto the main straight. It's purple and purple. First and second sector. So across the line, we beat our benchmark. It's a 1:15.4, so comparable to what he did in practice. Clayton Noyes is coming across the line. Purple in the first, green in the second, and purple in the third. Not quite enough, but not that far off. 1/10 away. Phil Brown currently in third. It's green in the first sector. We had personal best in the first sector. Slightly wide in the second, but I'm dropping down the order. Tony's going again. He's even faster in the first sector. Fastest of all in the first sector. And we're coming round to cut the beam around this corner. The second sector. Now through that very narrow bridge section, I imagine that not a lot of people are going to be going too wide through there. Try and slow it down and keep it as tight as possible, then get right back on the throttle. Slightly down in the second sector there. Don't look at that slow. Getting Noyes is still in second. And that was he was the fastest in the latter half of that lap, but still not close enough. 2/10 away from provisional pole. Julian Powell not setting the timesheets alight in that first sector, but a personal best in the second. Across the line, currently third. And I believe he stays third with 1:16.8. VT point still in the slowing down lap. It's not setting the timesheets alight on this lap at least. Yeah, the car banging off the limiter there. It's probably not doing the engine much good, but I've got my cheat sheet up here for the corner names, so if you're Dutch, forgive me in advance, because these names are pretty hard for an English speaker like me. And as Tony Tagliati has come into a pit, so currently we've got Tagliati on top, Clayton Noyes in second, Julian Powell in third, Romain Lebreau in fourth, and Philip Puschler in fifth. So it looks like the top three have got a little bit of a pace advantage. In the 1:15s and 1:16s, Tony did go even faster. It's brought the lap time down to 1:15.1. We've only got just over 4 minutes to go. So a bit of a cool down lap for Julian Powell there. As Tony contemplates whether he's done enough to stay on provisional pole. So, I did say that we hadn't seen any Lancia M2s. This is the only Lancia M2 in the field at the moment. Rob Milliken has decided to take the Lancia M2. Whether it's a good choice or a bad choice. So, currently in 7th. You can hear the turbo in that car. Currently staying 7th. He's running a custom livery. Gets it all out of shape in the first turn. Would that be all over for that lap? these cars back in the 70s and 80s doing wild things with downforce. So Julian Power back on the pace. He's personal best in the first and second sector. Let's see if he is able to go up the timesheets. Currently fourth. Stays fourth, but gets closer to the pole. 1 point still, 1.4 off Nick Westy. I believe that was Nick Westy that had a crash on his outlap. And this looks like he is stuck behind someone for this lap, so this may not be the quickest, and this is not a place to pass. Not a place to pass at all. But made it work. So down the hill. Personal best in the second sector, lighting those tyres up, that outer tyre, that left rear must be screaming. They're trundling over the line. Is he running short of the fuel? It seems very strange that he would not complete that lap. Maybe he thinks he can do better than that. Julian Power again, maybe another cool down lap because he's not any green sectors on the board there. So under 2 minutes to go. South ET is pushing extremely hard. So as I said, get a wheel on that dirt and it is all over. You are taken to the scenery very quick. He's not really got an opportunity to put another lap in. I'm not sure he can actually get to the line. He may be able to do it. It's halfway round the lap. He's got just over a minute to go. It just depends if he has damage. He did hit that fence pretty hard. So going for another one. Let's see if he can put in a lap. And so through the Boss Alt, along the main straight. Hold on for dear life. Pick your braking point. Where is it? Into the first turn, Tarzan boxed. As we cut to Gate Noigs, personal best in the first sector, just going around the turn into the second. Slightly down in the second. This looks like it's probably not going to be quick enough to take provisional pole. He's got to find 2/10. He is very, very close. He's about just under 100th away. Has he got the straight line speed? He has 1:14.9. He may have taken it out of the death. I don't think. Tony's in the pits at the moment. He cannot reply. John van der Geest in 5th. Currently on a 1:17 and has decided that he cannot improve. So time has run out. And we're now still on a lap. We haven't actually seen this driver cut to him at the wrong possible moment, including Gaten Noigs was going for an extra lap. He didn't really need to improve. Looks like he has taken provisional pole in dramatic fashion. So it looks like we may have our grid. Power not currently setting any spectacular times. And the other driver we have out there, Joe Reebok, currently in 9th. It does look like he's on a flyer. Gear slightly wide on the last turn, but he's buried the throttle. Across the line, can he pull on 9th? He can, up 1 place, and he goes to 8th place on the road. So, how about that? How about that indeed? That means I can set the starting order. we can check out what the starting grid will be. So the starting order is as follows. So Gate Noise took it at the death. As on pole, Tony Daviti in the second. Couldn't quite beat him. Nick Wesley with the crash. Coming back in third, and fourth, Julian Powell. John Van der Geest not able to get up to that top four. And Roman Lebreau in sixth. In seventh, it's Philip Pichler, Joe Reebok at the death. Came up to eighth, and Rob Milliken in the lone Lancia M2 in ninth. Mitchell Kokotsky in 10th, Phil Brown in 11th, Shields de Silva in 12th, with Simon Barnes last of the qualifiers in 13th. So a little bit of a warm-up time for these drivers to get their eye in, put their race fuel in. I don't know whether we're going to see the 115s that we saw in qualifying. So drivers currently lining up at the exit of the pits. I wonder if they want to perhaps I don't really need to practice any standing starts, because this will be a rolling start. They will go manually away from the line, so you'll hear the chimes of the starting gun, but it will be a manual rolling start. And they will go green out of the final turn, so the driver in pole will take them away from the line and control the pace all the way to the last turn where they can accelerate, and away they will go. So let's get our timing boxes sorted so we can see who is who and what are they doing. So Circuit Zandvoort been around since 1948, so it's been around a while. 7th of August 1948 to be exact. Located in North Holland, right by the beach. If you look at it on the map, it actually is a stone's throw from the beaches of Zandvoort. So on emotion, it gets quite chilly at certain points. The rain coming off the beach. We've seen the some major I'd say monsoon weather we saw in the F1 a couple of years back. So this circuit used to hold Formula 1 from the 1950s, sporadically through the 1950s up to about 1971. And 73 to 85, and after 85 it didn't come back until 2021. We've had some significant changes, one of which the bank turn in the last turn, and this hairpin was replaced with a very interesting bank turn. You can take a varying number of lines. So Zandvoort also holds the GT World Championship, also the DTM from 2001 up to the present day. A little bit of a break after 2018. Also the ADAC GT Masters. Some GT cars going around Zandvoort, very interesting. But the circuit has got a lot wider than it is on this layout. A lot more chicanes. Some of the corners are exactly the same as they were back then, but I prefer the 60s. The flow of the 60s version just feels a lot better, even though it's quite hard to pass. You've got to stay right under the rear wing, and you've got to give a lot of deference to people side by side with you, because the corners go into back on themselves, so you can go side by side through a lot of these turns. So these drivers have got to trust each other. They can probably lean on each other a little bit. So we may see a couple of people being shuffled wide if they're not yet able to keep a stable line on the inside of any of these corners. It's going to get very tight up to the hairpin on the first lap. I'm also seeing that this track did also have the World Touring Car Race of the Netherlands and Masters of F3. So we had all sorts of GT cars, open wheel cars, DTM cars. Now looking back at the layouts, the layout we're currently using, 4.19 kilometers, 2.6 miles, 19 turns. Doesn't seem like there's 19 turns. I don't know if that's correct or not. It seems a pretty quick lap for 19 turns. Fastest lap record was Jackie X back then, the Ferrari 312B, which was 119.2. We're pushing on from that in these Group 5 DRM cars.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
There we go. This is the start of what will be 45 minutes mandatory pit stop. So as I said before, they will go away from the line at a manual formation lap, and then out of the final turn, the leader can take them to a green flag. I don't fancy if the admins had decided to do a standing start for this. It would have been very, very tight indeed. So off they go on their formation lap. If anyone has any particular problems, I'm seeing hopefully the tower will sort itself out. There we go, there's our leader right at the top. So Gaten Noix will take us away from the line in his BMW E21. Time rating just behind P5. Let's see. So we're happy for the first time. Hunsen Rug. That's what we're having. Straight after the hairpin is called Hunsen Rug. And then we're into the Jan de Rika Zinveld. So these are twisting turns up here. Scheivlak into this right-hander. And up over this small crest into Hundenblack. Up to where is the bridge section. Just coming up to the bridge section here, which is the tunnel boost. So that's going to be the track does tighten a little bit there, so the drivers are going to have to be very, very wary. And we've got the boss in, and the boss out. To get a little bit of an overlap there, so I'm not sure that we can see up the main straight. So Gaten Noix will take the green flag. Tony gets an absolute flyer. In fact, that's John van der Geest. Looks like Tony de Vita was absolutely napping. Tell Viti went from second down to third. John van der Geest, where did he come from? He was in fifth at the start. So we've got some Porsches around the outside. It looks like one has spun around. The Martini Porsche. That's unfortunate. Not sure who that was. It was in the Martini Porsche, but to make up some position on the outside, Van der Geest has dropped a little bit back. He's probably chasing Nick Westy. But up the hill, here's the silver. Looks clean so far. I'm not seeing any yellow flags on the track map. drivers are trying to stay away from those curves with cold tyres on the first lap. So it was Romain Navarro that unfortunately has gone down to the back of the field and has got some time to make up. Trying to get past Simon Barnes, but there's nowhere through at the moment, so we have to be very patient. It's a better run and around the outside. I did say there will be some side-by-side running. You can actually hang it around the outside. Very good. There are 2 Martini Porters just to make my job even harder. So Rob Milliken being hassled by a BMW E21. Rob Milliken has to go defensive. And that is Phil Brown on the outside. Can Phil Brown break late enough to take it around the outside? He cannot. But will we see if drivers can? Put it on the outside, seeing someone come off the track there, not sure who that was. So Rob Milliken leading past the hairpin. It's a way better exit, but can't use the power of the Lancia, so that's Mitchell Kokotsky just ahead. So as I said, blind crest coming over here, don't hit the curve on the inside. Onto the grass, no harm done there. Looks like Julian Powell is all over the back of John Van because that's Joe Reebok. So Joe Reebok has come up the order. Look at this, 4 abreast. Is that the Lancia? I think that's Rob Milliken going slightly wide. Couldn't quite get it into the banking. So in the draft, up the straight. Julian Powell takes the inside line. Can he hold it up towards the first turn? He can. No defence. Joey Reebok has to give way. And then Porsche 935. Porsche on Porsche. This is Philip Pichler this time. It doesn't feel like he can get up the inside of Horst Silva. Fighting over 12th place. And the Martini Porsches are together. So the Bro has come up from the back of the field. That mistake earlier was costly, but he's looking up for lost time. Can't quite find a way through here. Again, got a lot more pace coming up the hill, but can't use it. Tackling pitch down. It's just me, just one behind you, as you saw that. On and off the throttle. It looks like Romain Navarro has either got to go around the outside like he did on the opening lap. So side by side, this is where he did it before. Going around the outside because he's got the inside for the next turn. He can't do it this time. Kotsky gets the braking all wrong, running on the grass on the exit. It's not going to give you a good exit. Wondering if he's going to be 8th by the time. Look at this, 3 abreast. What's going on here? Coming onto the front straight. Simon Burns versus Gilles De Silva. So they sorted themselves out before they got onto the finishing straight. As I suspected, it looks like Navarro did get in front of Kokotsky coming up that straight. The director missed it. De Silva and Pichler having a battle for 11th and 12th place. It's got really hard to get the power down in that Porsche 935. But we haven't seen much of the leader so far. Gaten Noyes has got away from Tony at the front, 3.3 seconds. Mostly in 3rd. I believe he was perhaps held up a little in those opening laps. It did seem to be a little bit chock-a-block further back. So Gilles De Silva barely hanging on to it. Nearly went up the lap. On and off the throttle there. So these DRM cars, the turbo will kick in when you're not really expecting it, so there is turbo lag in these cars. top 5 have spread out quite significantly. It's the battles further back that we're watching, so blanket over 10th, 11th and 12th. Just choose the silver, maybe thinking about the outside line at turn 1. It is possible. But we've just got to have the overspeed and the confidence to do it. No chance up to the hairpin. Wide line and back exit. But this is Pischler's view of that Lancia M2. Milliken has gathered it up. He's back on the track and currently in 10th place. Brown has taken over 6th place. That is the battle between Julian Powell and Phil Brown. So that's Porsche versus BMW. So looking at the top, we've got a BMW in first, we've got a Porsche 935 in second, we have a Ford Capri in third, a 935 in fourth. And just seeing that John van der Geest did drop down to 6th place just then. BMW E21 in 5th. So a good mixture of cars, and that's a penalty for John van der Geest. Is that for track limits? I could only think that's the only thing it could be for. There are places you can actually have track limits, but maybe a driving penalty for John van der Geest that will knock him down the order. So Romain Lebreau continues his fight back in 7th place. And now it's Joey Reebok's turn to have a Porsche 935 tucked under his rear end. So Capri versus Porsche 935. Back to the battle between Rob Milliken and Philip Pischler. All the way through in these turns here. What I love about these cars is the squirming around all over the place. Looks like we did see 7th place just go off there. 7th place was Romain Lebreau, so I'm wondering if he has passed John van der Geest for 8th place, 7th place rather. So maybe getting on the grass. He's making good progress up to the field, but as I say, the top 5 and top 6 have strung out a bit, so he's got a way to go even if he wants to get to the top 5. Straight, Philip Pischler. John van der Geest just coming into the pits for his drive-through penalty. Hopefully he doesn't speed the exit. Another one. So Mitchell Kokotsky, now he hasn't got any more around him. He put some good laps in 8th place, but Pischler is gaining in the background. Looks like the Porsche 935 is well matched to other cars around it. It seemed to be the car that is most popular in the field. I have to mark off on my list which car. So 10th place is that Gilles de Silva having a little bit of off. Let's see if we can find Gilles de Silva. Just getting going. He's going to drop to 11th place. It looks like Milliken may have the momentum on him. He does. Through he goes. Milliken now up to the top 10. It looks like our leader is coming through the lapped cars. It didn't take long. It's only taken 10 minutes for the leaders to catch the lapped cars. Not sure how easy or... That's Gilles de Silva getting it all wrong coming round the final turn. There's going to be plenty of flat spots on these tyres. These Porsches coming into turn 1 all locked up. Gilles de Silva recovering, I believe that is Simon Barnes just getting past. So Simon Barnes up from the here in field. So Pischler is all over the back of Looks like he gains a lot in this section here. And he goes a bit wide. Don't follow him, Philip. That's very easily done. Kokotsky, can he get going again? Gilles de Silva looks like he may have a little bit of damage because looks like he's suffering. Dropping down the order. And maybe that was a lap car coming through. That was Tony Talviti that was lapping him. That's our second place driver. So the lead is now 5.7 seconds. I wonder if the lap cars are going to come into play to slow the leader down a little. And it's quite a significant gap. In ninth place, Kukotsky is off on that's Kukotsky just then, so Milliken has overtaken and now up to 9th. So making good progress in that M2, M2. So who's going to be the first to pit? 33 minutes to go. Who's going to be the first to pit? We may expect drivers coming in exactly half distance. Tyres, chance to see them trying to get that Porsche 935 stopped. So Barnes getting it all wrong coming up towards the hairpin. Got all kind of mixed up. So John Van der Geest got mixed up in that as well. Looks like a bit of a miscommunication there. So Romain Lebreau continues in the 6th place, so Romain Lebreau looking at lap times, still in the 117s. He's had to try and make it through the traffic. So Joe Reebok will be the first to come in the pits. Is this a scheduled stop? 32 minutes to go. That'll be a very early stop. Maybe he wants to beat the rush. He will be lapped by the time it comes around. So after that drive-through penalty, or what you assume is a drive-through penalty, John Van der Geest now down to 11th place. Did get caught up in that accident with Simon Barnes and Jules De Silva there, but Simon Barnes has got going again. So it does look like Joe Reebok is in the pits for quite a significant amount of time. That is 10th place popping in. So who is that? That's Joe Reebok, and Mitchell Kukotsky has decided to pit as well. So it's a long, long pit stop. They decided to short fuel perhaps. So John Van der Geest, 9th. He has a red Porsche right behind him. I don't fancy lapping him actually. I don't think that's for position. So Simon Barnes now going about his business up to 10th place. Hopefully no damage from that coming together. It didn't seem too much of an incident. So Gaten Lloyd's out in front. Gap is now up to 6 seconds, so putting to rest the gremlins that he had at Hockenheim. Hopefully he has no issues when it comes to the pit stops. It had been decided that they weren't going to have pit windows. They decided to relax the rule and say you can come in whenever you like. It brings up the strategy a little. So Gilles De Silva is the next in, along with Rob Milliken. So Rob Milliken pitting from 9th place, and Gilles De Silva unfortunately out the back of the field at the moment. That's John Van der Geest letting that Porsche lap him. That's probably Pichler. Romain Lebreau comes up past the pits. Currently 61 seconds behind the lead, so with time to catch up. BMW E21 proving to be powerful, but out front no particular trouble. And how is that's Joe Reebok off again. Just after he's come into pits, he has got going again. See from the track map. So Simon Barnes now up to 9th place. 29 minutes to go. Like everybody is passing Dominican in the pits. So Van Geese make his way up to 7th place. Dominican back out to 10th. Hasn't lost an awful lot of positions in that pit stop, which is good to see. So a flurry of pit stops. I can see on the timer tower. Pichler has come in as well. When will we see our leaders come in? It's nearly half distance, but not quite. So the field is strung out a little. It was all nose to tail early on. A few battles with a few cars. But now it's not as tight as it was. Julian Powell in 4th. John Van der Geese in 7th, just behind. So here we have Rob Lincoln in his Lancia. No one around him in 10th at the moment. So no one around Noix for first place. So looking at the lap time, 1:16.1, comparable to the top 3. And then there's a little bit of a lap time gap in the 4th, and 1:17s. So just pacing this out to the end. So significant pace advantage, 9.3 seconds. So either that's mistakes from Talviti or Gaten is just opening up that gap slowly but surely, but it is a very, very short lap. So 10th by 10th, lap by lap. Phil Brown in 5th place. A little bit of drift from 4th. Kicking on. So 2nd place, Tony Talviti comes into the pits. And away he goes. I must have missed that, but he is now 19 seconds behind the lead, so we're going to have to be watching when the leader comes in. So we just need to keep it steady, no speeding in the pit lane. Looks like Simon Barnes trying to get out of the way, unfortunately caused more accidents. So that was Simon Barnes, and you can see on my sheet that is Joe Reebok, who was trying to avoid him. Unfortunately, he was facing the wrong way on the racing line, and Joe Reebok just could not do anything about it. Jules De Silva has a pit speeding penalty. It's unfortunate that we're looking further back. So when is Noise going to come in the pits? Bro comes into the pits from 6th place. I'm not sure he will lose a position. This 2nd place is quite a way away. This is Tony Talviti after his pit stop. Now 22 seconds. It looks like Noise has got this circuit down, particularly in this car. Seems to have got the rhythm. This is the rhythm circuit. Left, right. All the corners are very, very banked. Just need to 4-wheel drift into these turns, making sure you don't hit those curves on the inside. And hitting that grass on the outside. So John Van der Geese now back up to 6th after problems. Nice flat spots on those tyres, I'd imagine. So Nick Westy, the next in the pits, pitting from 4th place. That is Phil Brown. Unfortunately, going backwards into turn 1 is not an ideal situation. That will hurt quite significantly. It didn't look like he took off a rear wing, which would have been painful, and to come all the way around to repair. Looks like he's able to continue. Talviti is coming through the lap cars again, 2nd place. So Gaten Noyes has to put in these fast lap times whilst he's got them. He did have a little bit of an advantage before the pit stops. So 24 minutes to go. Husky now in 12th place, out on his own. 4th place, Phil Brown after that accident. I can't imagine his car's feeling very, very handy. And that's a lap car just behind you. So Jerry Reebok coming into the pits. So we have a few people. We've got Julian Powell in the pits as well. I'd imagine he's going to drop back down to 4th when Phil Brown has passed. Because he wasn't that far away. Gaten Noyes is continuing this run out in front, pulling out hand over fist. And he's completely out on his own as well. Talviti has got no answer at the moment. Lap traffic is not being great. That is Gaten Noyes just coming into the pits. To unfortunately make it around Phil Brown. Looks like they're fighting over pit spots there. I wonder whether that's going to screw over Gaten Noyes. They were too wide in the pits and he had to come out of the pit and go back in. So going over the pit line, so I wonder whether that's going to register as pit stop. We'll have to see. That may have been absolutely costly. So I'm wondering whether the two of those drivers were sharing a pit stall and Phil Brown was trying to get in to serve his pit stop. So it is pit, it has pitted, so it is registering pit stop. Hopefully there's no penalty on exit, but kicking himself in the air if it is. So the pit stop phase now down to 5th place. Coming up to that John Van der Wies. Actually, this is for positioning, so after pit stops and everything, Nick Westy is now right up around John Van der Wies. Can't go through him, Nick. That's not the way to do it. You've got to go round the cars, not through them. So I don't know whether that was just Van der Wies not quite getting on the power, but right under the boot lid. Nearly lifted John Van der Wies off the ground. So Nick Westy has got going again, but still in 5th place. Take another stab at that overtaking manoeuvre, whatever that was. Now that, I believe that is that John Van der Wies coming in the pits with Nick Westy. So we do have a rule in Sim Racing Online, the punch rule as they say. So if you accidentally punch someone up the rear, you take a drive through for penance. So that may be what Nick Westy is coming in for. And gets a penalty on exit. That's unfortunate. It's American taking the scenic route in the first few turns. Going well, up to 9th place now. Through other people's misfortune. Noyes. What has happened to Noyes? He's now 62 seconds down the road. Did he have extra time in his pit stop? He was in the pits for a significant amount of time. We've seen the last pit timings, 2 minutes and 32 seconds. So what happened to Noyes? He now has a minute to make up. That's very interesting. Looks like Jerry Reebok has called it a day at the tail of the Jordan. Also Phil Brown, did he that significant damage of coming into the pits? Maybe he was very light on fuel and he had to get into the pits and was unable to. It looks like John Van der Wies has got a speeding penalty as well. No pit limiters on these cars, so the people falling foul of speeding out of the pit lane. So currently two DNFs. Looks like got a car in 9th, just going off around the last turn, just carrying a little bit too much speed. So the bad luck follows Gaten Noyes for the second race in a row. Tony Taubiti has got an over 60-second lead. He's coming into the pits again. This is very interesting. I'm sure that we saw Tony Taubiti coming into the pits the first time around. So I'm watching that time come down 40 seconds. 35 seconds. Is Tony going to get out of the pits in the lead, or is he going to rejoin it in the second? 25 seconds. Still in the pits. 20 seconds. Still not off the jacks. 15 seconds. Second place is coming up the main straight. It looks like he will lose the lead. What's happened to Tony? I thought this was all said and done. Noyes is back in the lead. And after all of that has shaken out, with just over 17 minutes to go, Noyes returns to the lead. Taubiti in second. Still in the pits, and that time, well, that distance is out of the pits he comes. I thought he might lose third place at looking at the time sheets, but he's able to keep second. Because Julian Powell was creeping up. He's only 8 seconds, 9 seconds away. So Noyes in first, Taubiti second, Powell in third. Lebro, after this is all shaken out, has come away with fourth place, as it currently stands, with Nick Westy a lap down in fifth. It looks like fifth place may have popped off the track. He's sitting at the side of the road. So what has happened to Nick Westy? He was on his roof, so he's in a very awkward position to get around. So wait for the other cars. Don't beat yourself, because that crest, very easy to get the car beached on the lip of the track there. He's coming down to sixth. He's trying to get the car going again. It does look like he has got going. So interesting place to get it all wrong. So Woody was taking a far too... was one of the fastest places on the circuit, but he just flipped off the banking and ended up on his roof somehow. So, as I was saying, Noyes in first, Taubiti in second, Powell is now up to third place. Lebro in fourth, with Pichler in fifth. Zaida just coming past. That looks like a broken suspension for Nick Westy. It looks like he's either dragging the brake or dragging a wheel there. So it goes from bad to worse for Nick Westy. He was looking good at the early stages of this race. Unfortunately, he had an incident with John Van der Giesman. I think he took penalties coming to pits for either a drive-through or a stop-go penalty, but then it all seemed to go wrong from there. So Simon Barnes in a little bit of a predicament. He's got Jules de Silva just ahead of him, I think. That's a lap-in car behind him. Indeed. So we've got a Porsche. Simon Barnes just wants to stay out of the way, I think. There's 3 cars that want to get past Simon Barnes coming into the pits. As now he skips through another lap car. It's possibly... I think that's Kukotsky. Is that Kukotsky? No, that's Lebro. He's lapped all the way up to 4th place. So this is an absolute domination by Gaten Noyes. I thought it was all over through that pit stop phase. We'll have to find out after the race what happened to whether it was speeding penalties or damage. Very easy to get things wrong. We're looking now up to 7th place. Stay off that outside grass. He's done that a couple of times. It's absolutely lethal. That Simon Barnes coming out the bits. A little bit of traffic. Simon Barnes, unfortunately, another victim of a speeding penalty coming out on pits. It looks like a lot of people are falling foul of these older rules. It's quite a slow pit lane speed as well. So I wonder whether the pulling away from the pit stall is maybe pushing them over the pit speed. And people are getting caught out. So Nick Westy finally got that car around to the pits. We'll see if he actually comes out again. He's probably got a pit crew trying to attack another wheel on that thing. So, not sure what happened there. Jules de Silva is off at turn 1, but he's managed to get going again. So, solid run from Tony Talvita. We'll find out when he did the extra. It looked like an extra pit stop. So, we're looking pushing on in 7th place. Kukotsky is a lap adrift. Pichler going back to 5th place. He's not far away from Lebrow in front. Although I say that was 49 seconds. So, Rob Milliken kept his nose clean up to 7th place. Looks like it's been very hard for some of these drivers to keep it on the road, keep it at the apex on some of these turns. Rhodes is pushing on. He doesn't really need to. He's got 26 seconds. He can back off a little. 26 seconds lead with 12 minutes to go. That's going out into the top 10 in 8th place, chasing on. A lap adrift of Rob Milliken in front of him. So I wonder whether Noyes actually has I was going to say a lift off. Perhaps doesn't need to be pushing that hard. He could come away with the win. He needs these points for the championship. There are only 5 rounds in this championship. The usuals. We usually have 6 in sim racing around, but this is a unique championship with 5 tracks and drivers having to pick a different car every single round. Keeps me and the drivers on their toes. So that is a different Porsche I was expecting. That isn't the Porsche of Lebrow in front of Pichler. Looks like it would have been 4 position, but it is not. So Reynolds just has to keep it planted for the remainder. That looked like maybe Kukotsky going around at the last turn there. He's managed to keep going again. So no harm done. So Gaten Noyes, this is his 2nd race of the championship, so he does have some points to make up. So he does have some points to make up in this championship. I was just looking at the points. So we're using a 25-point system for first, 20 for second, 16 for third. That is our point system for this championship. Usually it's 40 for first, 26 for second, and 33 for third, so it's a little bit different. Admins have decided to use the more classic point system. Tony Talvita still kicking on. 10 minutes remaining. 10 minutes remaining. This one is spaced out. I can see 8th and 9th are quite close together on the track. The 9th are close together on track, but they're unfortunately a lap apart. That is Simon Barnes coming in to serve his penalty, and it did look like Nick Westy wasn't going to make it out of the pits. He is a DNF. That is unfortunate. It's kicking on. 9 minutes to go. Just needs to cruise to the end. 24 seconds in hand. I don't really want to give anybody the commentator's curse. But this will be good that he's bounced back and was able to take the win. Fingers crossed. But Julian Powell, this would be a good finish for Julian Powell in third. He's been able to keep his nose clean. Stayed out of trouble. No particular trouble in the pit stops. So Simon Barnes now in 10th place. Did start the back of the field, but up to 10th place. Did have that penalty early on. It looks like Jules De Silva. That corner is an absolute curse because he's been off there before. I wonder if there is damage. De Silva bouncing off the fence at the last turn. The last step of the podium at the moment for Julian Powell, which is good. He is quite far behind. Looking at the points situation and filling in some of the drivers that unfortunately have come a bit adrift. We are missing a few people today. Simon Barnes again, another penalty. What is going on? That wasn't a pit speeding penalty because he didn't come out of the pits. So is it now track limits penalties? Where do you get track limits at Zandvoort? I'm not sure is the answer. I am not sure. So, just 10 drivers left in the field. Julian Powell is one of them. Julian Powell is quite safe. He's 26 seconds behind second place. And 48 seconds behind him is Romain Lebrun, so he's pretty safe. De Silva after his accident. I'm surprised that car is going in a straight line, to be honest. Simon Barnes having an absolute nightmare. As soon as you hit that grass, you are on the ticket to the barrier, or the fence in this case. He's looking to 7th place. Jules De Silva in 9th place. He is a lap adrift off that car in front. That is for position, but he is a lap in front. So, unless something dramatic happens, he won't gain any. That is Simon Barnes spinning on the straight. That's a very strange place to spin. I wonder if he's got damage. Got it all wrong on the entry to pit lane. This is the leader coming up to Black. It's coming up to Black Rob McMillican in the Lancia. Kukoski running a little bit wide, pushing on. He probably should just be letting Jules De Silva by because there's no position to be gained or lost there. Poor Simon Barnes just popping into the pits for one more time. Having an awful amount of luck. I wonder whether he might just call it a day. There are 5 minutes to go. Another penalty. So where are these penalties coming from? So now it's pushing on in first place. The gap is still around 26 seconds. That is a car off in a big way. That is 5th place. That's Philip Pichler. What happened to Philip Pichler? I'm amazed how did he land on his wheels? Philip Pichler did several somersaults in the air and he's kept going. It looks like Kukoski may have gone off in front of Jules De Silva. That is Kukoski. He's not going to lose any positions, but ran a little bit wide. I think there are a lot of drivers that are maybe suffering with a little bit of a... Perhaps the tyres are coming to the end of their life. trying to push them a bit beyond what they're capable of. Kwiatkowski has got going again, so that's all good. Let's get John van der Geest just behind him, but he will be lapping him. So, just under 4 minutes to go. Lloyd's putting a dominant display. No particular problems through those pit stops. He's able to come back out in the lead. Julian Powell as well. This would be a good finish in third. A yellow in sector 1. That is 9th place. I think that is Jules de Silva again. Possibly a little bit of damage, and he's got a couple of lapping cars coming behind him, so he's got to be very, very wary. So, 3 minutes to go. Noyes in first, Terry in second, Julian Powell in third, and Bro in fourth. Push like that amazing somersault in fifth. I believe the admins did turn down the damage a little, which means some of the drivers have been very, very lucky in getting away with some of these accidents. We've seen a couple of them bouncing off the fence. We've seen a couple of them flipping on their roof, and we've seen some of them doing absolute somersaults, gymnastic style. Well, this is going to be a very similar circuit to what we're going to be doing in the 5th round at Zolder, the one that we missed out to serve each other, but we're going back there for round 5 in, I believe, March 28th. Next round will be a little bit of a modern circuit for these kind of cars, so we'll be at the 2000s version of the Nürburgring GP circuit. A track that presumably everybody knows. So for drivers, their car choice will be limited now. They've only got a couple of cars to choose from if they've been here for the first 3 rounds. So all Julian Powell has to do is keep it going for a place on the podium. So Julian Powell did get a 4th place in the first round, but unfortunately 6th place at Hockenheim, so this would be a good finish for Julian Powell. Oh, 50 seconds to go. This may be the last lap. I'm seeing where the leader is coming through just to finish sector 2. Here he is. 37 seconds to get to the line. And that is a penalty for Jules de Silva. Goes bad to worse. He may lose that 9th place to Simon Barnes. So 20 seconds to go. I can see here's the leader coming up to the straight. He will go for another lap. He can't slow down in time. Well, he could have done. He has 26 seconds or so in hand, or it might be 28 seconds in fact. So we're all going for 1 extra lap. I wonder if the drivers have accounted for it in fuel. The clock has gone. Pichler is... I'm surprised that car is still going. We will hear from drivers a bit later on, and we'll try and find out what happened in this race. It's been full of action from the start. Did space out a little in the middle of the race, but there's been battles all the way down the field. I think some mistakes are creeping in with pit speed penalties and maybe track limit penalties, but I'm not sure where track limits would come from on this track. You can't really be cutting the course. So it'll be interesting to hear from drivers what these penalties and how these penalties have arisen. So through the final turn, Noyes comes up the final straight for the last time. this will be a win for Gaten Noyes. Over the line, Tony Taviti. A little bit adrift in the end. I'm not sure what happened to him pit stop wise. But good nonetheless. It was going to come through in second place. Flash of the lights. So that's the second race of the season. That's a good finish for Tony in second. Julian Powell will come across the line in third. So that BMW E21 served Noyes well. LeBro, after that tremendous qualifying position, he pretty much went down to the back of the field and has come home in fourth place. Fischler in fifth. After that absolute somersault, I can't remember where on the circuit that was, but he got it all wrong over the. I think there was perhaps the blind crest. As you can see, Noyes and Taviti just coming home in formation driving to the pit lane. So furious action at Zandvoort. Can't believe it's actually over, to be honest. Can't believe it's actually over. It's going through the points in my points table, so I can do the final totals for you. There we go. So John Van der Geest in 6th, Rob Milliken came home in 7th, Kotsky came home in 8th. 9th was De Silva. He did come home in 9th in the end. He wasn't overtaken by Simon Barnes in 10th, but Simon Barnes had an absolute nightmare. Simon Barnes did come home in 10th, so he did survive, but there were many penalties for Simon Barnes. So, very interesting. Some donuts for you. Some donuts. Lovely, lovely stuff. Don't need those tyres anymore. Don't need those tyres anymore at all. Right, okay. So, let's go and see if we can generate our points. What a race. What an absolute stonker of a race. I don't know if this has changed the order of the championship at all. In fact, looking at the provisional standings, it does look like it may have changed the championship order. So championship order coming into this race was Nick Westy in first, but he had an absolute nightmare. We did see him on his roof briefly, and he did end up with a DNF. So let's load these points into the system so we can load them onto the overlays. So here is the standings. Right, okay, if this has worked, let's see. Season standings. Let's have a look at this. So, we've got a new leader to the championship. Tony Taviti, with only 2 rounds, has suddenly jumped up to the lead of the championship. Not by much, though. Not by much at all. It's very close at the top. 46 points to 45. Nick Westy in second. Romain Lebro is now in third with 37 points. Now, not far behind. We didn't see Perotti today. Winner last time out at Hockenheim. Unfortunately, we didn't see Perotti on track, so 35 is all we're going to see from him in 4th, so he's dropped down a little. 29 points, John Van der Geest in 5th. So he's got a little bit of catching up to do. He's actually level on points with Julian Powell. So Julian Powell was able to bump himself up the order with that step on the podium this time out. So joint 5th in the championship with 29 points. A bit further behind Lars Hagman. We didn't see Lars Hagman today. 24 points. Phil Brown looked like he had an. We saw him go rear end into one of these back turns, and maybe the damage was too much. And we also did see that he was level with somebody else coming into the pits, so maybe he couldn't actually refuel. So I have to find out strategies from these guys, whether they fueled up, whether they were running out of tyres at the end. We did see a lot of people dropping off the road near the end of this race, but there were a few people, particularly Julian Powell, didn't seem to have any particular worries. We never saw him having any particular problems. So Philip Pichler did some absolute somersaults in this race to come home in 5th place. He's currently 9th in the championship with 23 points. And 10th place, a good finish from Rob Milliken in this race, 7th place on the road with 19 points in the championship. So that's 3 rounds done. 3 rounds done. 2 to go. 2 to go in this championship. Let's have a look at the schedule. So our remaining 2 rounds, we've got the Nürburgring coming up. This will be the 2000s layout of the Nürburgring GP circuit. That will be on the 14th of March. And then we have Zolder 1979. So the classic layout with a couple of the chicanes taken out. So it's going to be very similar to what we had today. A lot of bank turns, but it is very, very bumpy. And those fences are a lot closer. So a trip to Germany in 3 weeks' time, I think, if I've done my maths correctly, and then 2 weeks after that, Zolder 1979 will be heading to Belgium, and that will be all. So I'm going to total up all of the cars that people have taken. The choice is now narrowed. What are they going to take for the final 2 rounds? We saw one Lancia today. One, just one. Is anyone else going to be tempted to take the Lancia in these final 2 rounds? Well, someone's got to. Someone's got to. So, thank you for joining me. I've been your host, Neil Wood, for Sim Racing Online for this 45 minutes at Zandvoort for the Group 5 70s to 80s Championship. So, we'll see you on the track for the next round. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.